Fund, which is, we're going to get into the details of it. I did want to recognize the public officials who are with us tonight that I know, and maybe some that I don't know. Daisy Morales, you want to stand up? Daisy, she's the Orange County Water Supervisor. That's Daisy. If you don't know her, you don't have Facebook. It's all over. And then we also have Jim Turney. Jim, will you stand up? Jim is City Commissioner for Altamont Springs, running for re-election, if anybody knows.
And a league member.
And a league member. Is it district? Is it county or citywide or district?
It's citywide.
Citywide.
The city
Okay.
can vote.
Anybody you know in the city? Are there any other public officials here? Candidates?
No.
We got it. Oh, there we go. Candidates all over the place. All right.
Chuck, I'd like to take a moment to remind you that you have cards to ask questions. When you write a card, if you'll hold it up in the air so I can see it, I'll come get it. Thank you.
Okay. So if you have a question, just fill out a card. I see a lot of questions coming in. All right, let's wade into it. The Sadowski Trust Fund came up earlier. And for any of you who are unfamiliar with it, a portion of the doc stamps from every mortgage, my wife, mortgage person, or every deed goes into this pool. So this percentage of that comes out, or is supposed to go to this trust fund that helps fund things like the SHIP program, housing down payment program. Jeff, you mentioned it, Penny, you mentioned it. That we've got a full house of people who advocate, who go to Tallahassee, who talk to legislators. What would your recommendation to them be to get this trust fund from being swept year after year after year? Okay, Jeff's going to go first and then Penny.
Sadowski was formed up in 1996. Okay, it's named after the person that proposed it, his last name was Sadowski. Unfortunately, people sometimes, we would go to Tallahassee and talk about Sadowski. The legislators get that. We've stopped calling it Sadowski. We're calling it the Housing Trust Fund because that resonates a little better. And the reality is that was a constitutional amendment that was put on the ballot. It was supported by Florida Realtors. It was supported by every local association, urging voters. And there's one thing, there's many things realtors do. One thing realtors are very good at is getting out the vote. And we do get out the vote. And we can influence elections. And at the end of the day, there's 190,000 realtors in the state of Florida. There's 16,000 realtors split between Orange and Seminole County. So we are very active in proposing and interviewing candidates to support candidates, not because they're Democrat, not because they're independent, not because they're Republican. We support candidates that commit to us support for housing issues, your housing issues, as well as the affordable or the housing trust fund. What has happened with the affordable trust fund is, for years, it moved along very nicely. Thank you very much. I represented clients that we used the SHIP program from organizations, such as like Gold Rule, to help get that done. They have swept in excess of $2 million from that trust fund in the last 10 years. $2 million. This year, the governor wanted to support it fully. The Senate wanted to support it fully. The House cut it in half. $200 million was allocated this year. $115 million of that went to the Panhandle.
No, finish.
Can I finish?
Yeah.
Went to the Panhandle for the hurricane, which was necessary. We got less money this year than we got the year before. How can you influence this? And what we're doing, frankly, I'm beginning the process of reaching out to other local boards in getting the local boards to join me and go to Florida Realtors and demand that Florida Realtors advocate for a constitutional amendment to prevent the raiding and the stripping of the Sadowski housing.
Jeff, while you're writing that amendment, can you throw in the part about not raiding the Amendment 1, 2014, at Water and Land?
It's a trust fund.
Yeah.
That
Should
the
be.
citizens said, we want this done. And legislatures and Congress raise that money. It should be illegal. It's wrong. It needs to stop.
All right, Jeff, who will be running for the state legislature, is going to make his announcement at the end. What would you like to add to that, Penny?
It's a really important vehicle for families to be able to utilize. And I don't know if everybody knows this, but Central Florida has been ranked #1 in the entire nation for the lack of affordable housing. Not something that we should be proud of, to be #1 in that category. But the Sadowski funds are funds that are already there. It could be a very viable solution to us pulling ourselves out of that #1 spot. And it's not an extra tax or anything. It's just if we could utilize it for what its intention was and not sweep it into the general funds to be used for other things, it may be part of the solution for creating more units and having, I mean, you're not going to create the units with it, but you're going to give more families opportunities to get into housing and make it affordable for them. So it's really, really important to mention it to legislators all over the place. There are so many new, young legislators that don't even know what it is, and they don't necessarily even know what its intention was. And I think we've tried to spend the last few years re-educating or educating for the first time some of those younger legislators, and I don't feel like we've been as successful as I'd like to be. So it is very, very important.
All right, thank you, Penny. Cynthia, you blew my mind. You really did when you talked about the financial management and going to the Seminole County schools to teach a class in it, and they said no. That's where it all begins. That's where it all begins, is being able to budget, set aside money, start off by paying rent, develop good rental history, because any lender is going to look at your rental track record. All right. Now you said your program, Golden Rule, helps people move into home ownership. Have you noticed any reluctance on the part of people to buy a home in light of what happened in 2008 and the recession and so many people losing their homes? Is there a reluctance to own a home in younger people?
Before I answer that, let me just go back to Sadowski, William Sadowski. This man gave his life. He froze to death on the steps in D.C. of HUD to bring the attention to homelessness. So for them to try to take the name off of it and call it the Housing Trust, I think that is just not fair to a man that gave his life. His name is William Sadowski, so just remember that. Somebody died to bring the attention to us that there was help needed for affordable housing. Also, I'd like to, yes, we want to talk to our legislator, but starting on the local level, every city, every county does a 5-year consolidated plan that they have to send to HUD. They give you an opportunity to have maybe 2 weeks to do public input. It is very important to go out to the public meetings, to give your public input, to tell them how you want your CDBG funds to be spent, how you want your home dollars to be spent, where you want your public service dollars to be spent. Don't wait until it has to go all the way up to the top. Let's start working on the local level. Make the changes where our voices can definitely be heard. Okay, let me go ahead and answer your question. Yes, I've seen a reluctancy in people to get into home ownership because of what did happen with the housing market. But not so much about what happened with the housing market, it's because I lost my job. I cannot pay my mortgage. However, what they need to know is if you miss your rent, 30 days, you're out. You miss your mortgage, you've got at least 3 months, and then you can talk to your mortgage lender that may also be able to assist you. So if you're a homeowner and not a renter, you still have 60 more days to work with, but then you can always come to us and we can help you out too.
Do we have anybody from the school board here? That would be nice if they could answer why financial.
I can speak on that. I can speak on that.
Oh, yes.
The state has mandated financial planning be incorporated in the curriculum. And Seminole County has financial planning, financial management, how to write a check. We're not writing checks anymore. But the fact that if you have a credit card, you need to put money in before you try and take it out. We're teaching that in the schools in Seminole County.
Okay, what grade is that taught in?
Pardon?
What grade is that taught in?
In the high schools.
In the high school?
Starts before high school.
Okay. That should be every year. Really. We have a question from the audience about what can local governments do to encourage development of affordable housing, and I'd like to combine that with another question